So in general, on page 8, right? When it comes to Renos, you're gonna have to, I'm gonna ask you to figure out how much does it cost to buy materials for that renovation that you're, so steps in general, kind of what you wanna always keep in mind as we go, right? You wanna determine the total amount of either surface area or volume required. Okay, and again, no news, convert as needed. So that's your first task. And this might be very easy. They might just give you what the surface area is, or you might have to actually use a formula to figure that out. Calculate how many boxes, cans, loads, etc. will be required to complete the project. You need to round that to a whole number. No partial quantities, okay? No partial quantities. And then, last but not least, we'll calculate the total cost before and after tax. And so we usually multiply by 1.12. Why is that? Because if you buy something off the shelf or anywhere, that's 100% of the price, and then the government comes along and says, hey, by the way, that's 12%. Taxes, that's 112%. Right? So that is, if you turn that into a decimal, that'd be 1.12. Okay, so that's the quicker way of thinking about it. However, I need to add this because it has changed. If only GST is required, GST is 5%. Okay, and so if you buy something for 100 and only GST is added to it, this is all percentage, then that's 105%. Anytime you see a percent symbol anywhere, you should think 105 over 100, right? Think of the two zeros of the percent symbol as the 100 that's underneath it. So if you divide that by 100, you get 1.05. So sometimes all you have to add is 5%, and sometimes, do you know that it's 12% tax? I hope 7% and 5, PST, GST. That's where the 12 comes from. So most things are taxed both, right? PST and GST, but some things are only taxed GST. So services are usually only taxed 5%. So I'll let you know what's what. Okay. What are some formulas? I will just say let's go to page 10. Okay. I think I can fit everything into page 10, and then we'll come back here, okay? So let's go to page 10. There's your favorite rectangular prism, and that's because most of the time rooms are rectangular, okay? Okay, so page 10. The surface area of a rectangular prism is usually 2 times length times width, so it's length times width. That'd be the top and the bottom. Top and bottom. It's important to know which part of the formula represents what. Okay, and these ones, the width and the height. If you go 2 times width and height, think of it this way: width, right, and height. Those are your sides. And length and height, that'd be front and back. So this is somewhat of a review. I would say you should have this on your study sheet if you want to be successful. So given that this is the surface area for an entire box, the truth is most of the time when you paint a room, you only paint the walls, right? You definitely don't paint the floor. Most, like 99% of the time, you would not paint the floor. So this part right here of the formula is not always included. So if it's just surface area of the walls, it'll be just this. And how do you know you got this right? Think about the walls. The walls always have the height in it. Both of these have the actual height. So if you have a height of 10 feet, let's say, you should see a 10 there, a 10 there, to make sure you get that right. if it's the surface area of the walls and the ceiling, right, you're only going to need one of these. Watch this. This says 2 times length times width. We're not going to need the 2 in front of it. It's just the length and width multiplied. Plus 2 width times height plus 2 length times height. Notice that the 2 is gone, right? It's just length times width. So this would be the ceiling. Let's just make a note here. That would be the ceiling. And these are the walls. Some of you are only going to need this one on your study sheet. You're going to be like, you know what, Mr. Dixon, I've done this so many times. I just need this. I know what's what, right? So it's up to you what you want to do there. Keep that in mind. So this is a regular. Can I make a note here? Subtract areas of windows, doors, right, closets, etc. So if the question ever mentions that there's a window or a door or something, obviously we're not painting it. We're going to subtract that from our total. I hope you understand that. You've done, I think you've done stuff like this in IPR, but I haven't taught intro in a while, so I'm not sure what's being done there. I would have taught you this in intro for sure. Next. So this is just a review of the formulas, and then sometimes you've got rooms that are not regular rectangular prisms. So these are irregular prisms. I would like you to use the shortcut. Surface area of the walls is the perimeter of that room. So the distance around that room times the height. That's the easiest way. Remember this for grade 12 applied as well. This is the way to go. You can actually use this for regular rectangular shape as well. You just find the perimeter of the room and then just multiply it by the height, and then you get the surface area of the walls. So if you have a room that has a height of 8, but you're looking down at it, you would figure out the perimeter, right? So the perimeter is 100 feet in this case. Add sides. Do you remember that? Perimeter? Yeah? Yeah, I hope so. And so to figure out the surface area, you just go 100 feet and you just multiply it by, in this case, the height is 8 feet. And when you go 100 times 8, that's 800, correct? And when you multiply feet times feet, it's feet squared. There we go. So now you know what the surface area of the walls is, assuming that there are no windows, no doors, nothing like that. Okay. Same one with this. I normally ask you to figure out the perimeter, but I think we spent a bit too much time today on. But anyways, always mark where you start. This will be 20, 30, 9, 8, and then this one is kind of unknown here. But if you think about it, it's 20 feet from end to end. So if you add the 9, this, and this, that should still add up to 20 as well. Or you just figure out, you go 20 minus 9 minus 5. You figure out this stretch, if that's easier for you. And then just keep adding all around. And I will just tell you that that's 108 feet. So the surface area of this room would just be 108 times its 9 feet, right? This house has taller walls, right? So 108 times 9, that'd be 972 square feet. Will you maybe have to convert this? Maybe. Maybe you might have to convert this. You might have to convert this to square meters. You might have to convert this, and we'll talk about that when we do the example, okay? So, let's go to page 11. So my guess is I'm going to make it through one example, and I'll ask you to do the other one that's next door. So let's go to page 11. This is a full-blown, like a lot of moving parts on this one, by the way. So I apologize already for it taking a lot of space, but that's why I left you the whole page there. A rectangular room measures 144 inches by 6 yards 2 feet with a ceiling that's 8 feet high, right? You've been hired to replace the carpet and repaint the walls and ceiling. So I give you a lot of information there. I tell you a little bit about the new carpet and what it costs, and you have to go by squared yards. 1 can of paint covers this much square footage and costs this much plus tax. So A, calculate the cost of paint after tax if 3 coats are applied. I'm going to highlight that part right there. 3 coats is literally as if you're painting 3 rooms. All right, guys? So let's start with A right here. I need the surface area of the room. And it's ceiling plus walls. Okay, so the problem is that the units of the length, width, and height, they're all different. Look at what the paint is stated as covering square feet, correct? So I'm going to try to get all of this to feet. All my measurements are going to be in feet to make that easier. So length, I'm going to go 144 inches and quickly convert. I know that 1 foot has 12 inches. Cancel that out. 144 divided by 12, it's 12 feet. I tried to make them nice and round numbers, okay? You know what? This is going to be a problem, the width being so close there. Then let's do the width. I don't know if you remember this. It's yards and feet. That's kind of weird, right? So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go 6 yards. I know that 1 yard has 3 feet. Plus, watch this, plus I have the 2 feet there, correct? So I'm going to turn my yards to feet and then add the 2 feet that are already there to that answer. Okay. So you cancel out here. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 2 is 20 feet. And the height is already in feet, so that is perfect. So I did a bit of converting there. And now let's figure out the surface area. The first surface area is length times width, so it's 12 times 2 plus 2 times, this is where students get caught up sometimes. What should I do? Go length and height first. So that'll be 12 times 8, and then go plus 2. Now go width and height. Right, so length and height, width and height. That's the safest way to do it. You can't go wrong if you do it that way. Then you're making sure the walls are taken care of. And so that would be 240, this part. 2 times 12 times 8 is 192. And this part right here is 320. This would cover 752 square feet. And here's the big kicker. How many rooms are you painting technically? If it's 3 coats? 3, right? So right away, I'm going to use a different color here. I'm going to go times 3. Have something that stands out. Either you highlight it or something. but you need to do it right away. Okay. Oops. Yeah. So that is really, so if you can hit the clear button on your calculator, and if you want to try that, 752 times 3, right, that much. Yep. Oh, sorry, this is all multiplying. Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's all times, okay? Making sure that's times. I don't like the x. I do use it sometimes, but later we have the variable x, and then it just gets messy. Yeah. So this is all multiplying, yeah. Square feet. This is very important. I'd be looking for this number. I'm not going to circle it, but I'm just going to say, hey, that is my surface area. I need to know that moving forward. We're not done yet, though. That's the annoying part. So watch this. The ultimate goal is to find out how much will it cost. So you first have to figure out cans required. Okay. And I just go this way. Okay. So I'm just going to go equals here, not dot dot. So I'm going to go 2256 square feet, and I'm just going to divide it by the square footage to see how many cans fit into that big number that I just figured out. So watch this step. This is very important to get this one right. You get 18.8. And this could be a decimal. Just go dot 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 if it's not stopping on your calculator. How many cans do I need to buy if it's 18.8? 19. Folks, if this had been 18.1, 18 point anything, you need to buy that extra can. All right, so that is important. I don't know if you remember that. So I need to buy approximately 9, right? You go approximately 19 cans. Always round up. And now is the final part is the cost. That one is the easy part. So 19 times, here I go with the times, right? 19 times 32.89. It's $624.91. That one has no taxes attached yet. Okay. And then you go 624.91 times 1.12. So you just take that number, multiply it by 1.12. Don't add 1.12, you multiply it. 699 what? How would you round that? 699.90, right? Because that third decimal bumps this to a 10, which bumps that to a 9. So 699.90 is your answer there. All of that just for A. And I would like to add the surface area to be painted. Here, I would like to add that because this is not the surface area of the room, because technically you would add the floor. But if you want to think of surface area to be painted, that's what you do there. Okay. Now, what do we need next? We need the cost of installing carpet. I'm hoping to finish this before we go. So carpet. All you need is the area of the floor. That's all you need. And that would be length times width. Right? Carpet goes on the floor, length times width. We already know what this is. I'm not a big fan of trains when it comes to equal signs, but if it is actually equal to each other, then it's fine. Okay? So length times width, we know it's 12 feet times 20 feet. And that amounts to 240 square feet. Right? Yeah. And here's a bit of a problem. What is carpet sold in? Like what units? Yards, right? So that's the annoying part. Why did you have to do that, Mr. Dirksen, right? Yes, it's sold in squared yards. I would not change this. I would change my actual area. I would change this. So convert this to squared yards. Okay. So 240 square feet. What would I multiply that by? I want it to yards, right? So I'm going to go 1 yard has 3 feet, correct? That looks right to me. Can I use that? Not yet, not as is. Because squared feet, this is just feet. So watch this. You go and put a bracket around this, square it, square it. And I'm going to rewrite this whole thing. I'm going to go 240 squared feet, and now I'm going to rewrite this conversion ratio, and I will go 1 squared yard, and 3 squared is what? 9, right? 9 squared feet. Now we can cancel the units, and it's basically 240 times 1 divided by 9, and that will be, here I'll show you, divided by 9, that is what you get, 26.66, and that keeps going, squared yards. Don't round just yet. Okay, so now you need to ask yourselves, how much carpet do I need to buy? So I know this is weird. You're going to find this weird, and that's okay. What is carpet sold in? What are we assuming? Squared yards. So you cancel that out, and so when you go 26.66 something divided by 1, that's still 26.6. But I don't want you to forget about this step. So approximately, you need to buy 27 squared yards. No partial units. And now cost is 27 squared yards times, it's what, 350? And I'm going to add taxes right away. It is okay to do that in one shot. That's 105.84. Okay, boom, that's my cost for carpet. C, the grand total, including taxes. So that would just be $699.90 plus 105.84. My bad, it went too long today, guys, sorry. So this would be, it includes taxes already, so don't be adding taxes again because you've already taxed everything before. Sometimes I ask you to find A before taxes, B before taxes, and then at the very end add taxes. So you just have to read very carefully. I want you to try 12 and, hold it, and 15, okay? Page 12 and page 15. 2 Renos. I'm going to post the answer key to that. Thank you guys, you were great.